When I go to sleep at night, I know, I know that people's lives were changed because they interacted with me. And
Hello, hello. This is Nina, and you are listening to the 2K Days podcast. More and more people are realizing that business can be an extremely powerful force for good if you could just figure out your marketing. On this show, you'll hear from amazing impact entrepreneurs and learn effective new strategies to help you generate revenue and radical change with your conscience intact.
that addiction to the hustle, it's so real.
It is an addiction. And like I said right before we started recording, this year I'm gonna do everything different. I boiled everything down into 3 things and still exhausting and overwhelming myself trying to do all 3 of those things at once.
I I feel that. So when I did it, I boiled it down to 3 priorities for the year: my family, my business, my health. And then within those 3, I have 3 things. So I've got my 3 things that I'm focusing on my business. And if it doesn't fit into those 3 things, I put it on the shelf and we'll see if it still fits later. There's 3 things I boiled down with my family. And if it doesn't fit in those things, and when I say that, I mean, like, all my kids are grown up and gone. So time is a place. So if my kids call me, like, that becomes the priority. I'm going to spend 1 week alone with each member of my family at least. So just like me and each one of my kids instead of a big family thing. And then I have 2 sons-in-law. They can join if they want, and if their spouses want them to. Otherwise, it's just me with my daughters. Um, and then my health, again, 3 things, 3 priorities.
It seems like that would make sense. But then within that, how do you prioritize?
Exactly. So then within that, and where I'm getting out of balance, my family and my health, I feel like that's in balance. But in my business, and it's because there's always more to do. And sometimes I just wake up and but do you know what else I've done? Can I tell you what else I've done?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't, like, I'm no expert. Like, I just started this week, but it's actually been great. So Monday is Moon Day. So on Monday, I actually have a subscription service called Work with the Moon, and we make, booklets for the full moon and the new moon, and it's a subscription service. So that's the day that we work on that, and I'm in that. I'm doing a collaboration with that. Tuesday is Mars Day. So Tuesday was the day I paid the bills. I organized my desk. I started preparing for taxes because here we are in January. Like, so just the doing things, right? But these tasks that just keep getting knocked to the bottom of my priority list because honestly, I don't love doing it, but using the energy of the Mars Day, the action to just get that done. Honestly, when I got that done, I was like, there was a weight lifted because I just got some of those things done. Wednesday is Mercury Day. So that was the day I've really been kind of off the social, but that was the day I was like, I want to make a post. I did some networking on that day. I mean, I do networking on the other days too, but like, we did our networking and some other things. So communication. Thursday, which is today, is Jupiter Day. And let me tell you, today felt really big. Like, it was supposed to be the same joy and luck, and instead what expanded was all the stuff on my calendar. So this way I'm not an expert on this. Like, I'm gonna do better next week on Thursday. And then tomorrow is Venus Day. So this would be like connecting with my soul family, keep people in my business and all of those things. So we'll see how that goes. But again, trying to use some kind of structure that keeps me like a container that I think of, like a pot, a plant in a pot. Like, if the plant doesn't have the pot to be in, if it doesn't have a container, then it grows out and becomes not manageable for a human.
Right. Or itself. One of the things that I want to explore later on in this season is boundaries to create innovation. We need boundaries to make innovation possible. But sticking to what we're talking about here and what you're talking about That seems like a really good container for exploration, like self exploration. With those boundaries in place, now you can start really kind of feeling into, where is the pull back into the hustle? Is that coming from, am I chasing the feeling of getting that to do list done? Because that's a really good feeling. Am I running away from other things into this feeling? Like, there's a lot to think about when we think about why we keep getting dragged into hustling instead of creating.
Absolutely. And I see it energetically, like it's the hamster wheel. Just like I'm moving, and then at the end of the day, I look back and I'm like, and it's like I have improved vastly over the last many months as I have worked on. Um, I love this idea. I'm going to come back to this, but where you're talking about building the structure of the containers. So one of my most favorite things to like, I really enjoy cooking, but do you know what I love to do? I love walking into a kitchen, especially like right before shopping day. Like I know that this is weird. Like I'm a little weird on this, but like I need to go shopping. There's not a lot, but with the limited ingredients that I have, that's a container. Like, you know, I have a limited number of things that I can do. And I actually end up getting super creative and making really fun and unique meals. And I'm so much better at that than, on Sunday when I'm meal planning, if I'm that organized, which is rarely, but if I am, or when I just have a fridge full of food and I'm like, what am I going to make? I don't even know what I'm going to make. There's just so many options. And so like, just we have so much stuff coming at us all the time. And so just finding ways to narrow the options. And this comes back to one of your teachings, and that's that decisions funnel, which I think about all the time, going through the values, then going into the priorities. Um, I mean, that's a thing that I think about a lot. So yeah, what is the container that we get to build? Like I'm not interested in somebody building a container for me, but what's the container that I can build, because I have lots of choices for the container, but that can also feel like what came to my mind was like choosing your own name, which I know that you did, and it's beautiful. If I had to choose my own name, like I know there's so many options, right? So I'm just gonna stick with my name. I mean, and I like my name, right? But yes, but no, it's the options. Who's the
And this is really important because we talk about boundaries, but we never really talk about boundaries in this way.
correct?
And so when we're talking about hustle culture and we're talking about falling into old mindsets, what we're really talking about are self-honoring boundaries, the kind of boundaries that are, I am a person who does this, or I am not a person who does this, not the, oh, you're not going to talk to me that way, which is also important, but it's a lot more flimsy if you don't have those self-containing values and boundaries in place.
Totally. And when you said that, what I thought of it becomes a part of your identity that you choose. I'm a person um who has these three priorities. And if it doesn't fit into those three priorities, then it's not going to work for me right now. And I put it on the shelf. I'm a person who chooses to eat healthy food, or I'm a person who chooses to spend a week with each one of my kids every single year, or I'm a person who has three business priorities. And again, this is the place where I'm the least boundary, because there's so many opportunities and so many things I want to do and learn about.
Right. But here's the thing, it's not just that. Think about your first years in business. Everything you learn, you were inundated with that hustle, hustle, hustle. If no pain, no gain. If you're not tired, you're not trying. So I don't really think there's so many opportunities. I really think there's a lot of like falling back on learned behaviors
Totally.
involved with that. Because we learn hustle, but we do not learn decision making, prioritizing, systemizing. None of those things are taught by the motivational speaking style gurus that are reaching out to bootstrap entrepreneurs.
Totally. And it's certainly not taught at any age outside of some very small pockets and then very few families to set those up for yourself. Right. And the hustle culture. I mean, we're kind of coming around a little bit more. Like there's more and more of a wave away from that. But I mean, like, think about that. That was honored, venerated. Like that was the ultimate, was that hustle culture. And isn't that convenient for the billionaire owners of these companies who have just built this culture of hustle where you will sell your soul and sacrifice your health and your family so that you can move forward this business that has no loyalty to you at the end of the day. Because that's
Exactly.
the culture of corporate America that we live in.
Exactly. And it is an actual exploitation of a very natural drive to give for your community, right? No matter, there have been so many philosophies about, the survival of the fittest and all of that stuff, Darwin taken out of context. But ultimately, what drove our development was altruism, the desire to give for prestige. You give for prestige. All of the early tribal societies all over the world were valued for their ability to give. And what we're dealing with today is this really warped version. There's this toxic masculinity version of men sacrificing themselves to the workplace to take care of the wife and child at home, that also you're not really supposed to really emotionally bond with because that makes you less manly, right? Evolving into this disgusting kind of overlapping work, 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 give, 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 work till you die. But it comes from our natural desire to earn a place in a community we love by giving. And so how do we recover that, honor it for what it is, truly live that way, and not for capitalism?
Right. Yeah. Not not for yeah, I think the way I'm hearing that question is not for someone else or somebody else's ideal or something like that. Although there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I mean, like, as parents, we do this all the time with our children, but from a true place of altruism with within a container, not exploitative altruism.
Right. And now I'm recalling something that you actually teach, the four quadrants of like the martyr, the hero. Can you go into that? Because I'm forgetting and
Oh,
I'm really seeing that relevant here.
it is totally relevant. So there's the four quadrants. So this work is my work, and it's based on the drama triangle, right? Where you've got victim, villain, then hero. And then I added another one in which is martyr. That's the wounded hero. It's different than the victim. It's the hero who can't let themselves be the victim or the villain, so they turn into the martyrs in a hero's anyway. So it's victim, villain, hero, martyr. And they're really just two sides of the same coin, but they can go any way. Like every hero needs a victim and a villain. And if they can't win, then they can become the martyr. And let's just look at the mythology and the stories around it. Like if the hero can't win, better that they just die, right? Or somehow others suffer because at least they did it trying to save the victim. And the victim needs to have a villain and a hero, or they can't really be a victim. And so these are all two sides of coins, and they all play off of each other. And the point is finding which role you play in the story. And we can like we all have our favorite go-to, right? I find that most people in my circles, um, they love to be the hero, but if they can't be the hero, they'll be the martyr. Some people, including some people who are there, being the victim sometimes is a really comfortable place. Um, you know, let- it let's just face it. Sometimes being the victim is comfortable, and then you don't have to take any blame. But the thing that nobody wants to be is the villain. But the thing that we never get told is that all of this stuff is in us, and the universe requires balance. So if you're the victim in one specific area of your life, you're a villain in another in equal measure. Same with the hero and the villain. So Um, One of the things that has been really profound in my work with people is identifying the villain in them. And here's why it's powerful. Because let's think about like Disney movies, right? Like we can talk all day long about the programming, guilty of Disney movies, damsel in distress, knight in shining, like, but aside from that, Disney has done a fantastic job with villains. What's cool about villains? They do not care what anybody thinks of them. And so by identifying that inner villain, you can find that part of you that can step aside from people pleasing behaviors, from need to be the hero, from the need to rescue people. Now, I'm not encouraging villainies. I'm just saying by finding that and identifying that, you can see that you have in yourself the positive, if you will, qualities of the villain. And then you can start to identify the negative qualities of the hero because we think it's either or, like villain is negative, hero is positive, but it's not.
Right. And so this is really amazing because if you're thinking about you wanting to be the hero of your business, right? We're entrepreneurs. We're bringing amazing new things into the world. We are the hero. We're going to save the world, or we're going to save our clients, or we're going to save our customers by changing their lives with this product. And so thinking about that from the perspective of this drawback into the whole hustle culture, the self-sacrificial do, drive. When we can't figure out our marketing, when we aren't hitting those totally arbitrary financial goals and everything else, are we falling back into learned behaviors? Or are we falling back into being the martyr? Oh my gosh, I'm doing all the things, I'm trying. I'm going to keep trying until I burn out. And then who are you?
Yeah, then exactly. So you can just switch through these roles. And so we see that like, I'm going to die trying, or I guess it's just not for me. I just can't do it. So then we move into the yes. And the hustle culture, and, and you hear this all the time, be the hero of your own story. I got a little problem with that.
This
Because
is an interesting take.
yeah, because I mean, be the protagonist of your own story. But remember, protagonists, like our favorite protagonists are people that have multi-dimensional. They're not just like, the hero. So, but I do believe in being the protagonist of your own story, being the author of your own story. I like even more. You have authority over your life. That's why we secretly kind of like a lot of villains. There are very despicable villains who, most people of like fairly normal mental function do not like. They're despicable people in villains. And there's always, especially I've seen it in a lot of stuff that's been released in the last 10 years, like there's some nuance to the villain.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
I mean, Maleficent, since we started this conversation, I'm all about Maleficent. And her story, like as the villain, really? In what context? In
Yep.
Sleeping Beauty's context, in our favorite victims context, right? But that didn't happen out of nowhere. So now we're talking about justice. Now we're talking about reparations. We're talking about equity. And it really takes a villain against the status quo, people who are standing up for themselves. Maleficent didn't do it right. She dragged in the innocent,
Mm.
but she was innocent.
Right.
Then who's going to bring that up?
Yeah. I love that you brought in the social justice part. That was one other three things. I wanted to look at three words that are like my business values, and they are equity, access, and empowerment.
Oh,
And it's so like, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning is I want people to be empowered because empowered people can bring equity and access. And we get out of this competition that just is all about this power dynamic and puts us in these roles that we just talked about in the quadrants. So I think empowerment is the fulcrum piece of that. And that brings in equity and access. So everyone is empowered. Empowered people want everyone to be empowered.
boom. So, and I've been through your coaching program, right? And so I
Mhm.
know one of the benefits of having gone through that program is learning, first of all, nobody identifies as the villain, but that term will be used against us over and over and over. And so one of the benefits that I got from going through your coaching program is being perfectly fine with that, right? If you're an upholder of an unjust system, you're damn right I'm the villain in your story. And I'm okay with that. I'm
Oh, I
totally
love
okay
that,
with that.
Mina. That makes me so happy.
I love it. And no, becoming an example, becoming someone who does not fall into hustle mentality, somebody who is more likely to rescue their own rest than sacrifice themselves to an ideal they didn't create. You'll
Yeah.
be labeled a victim and also, or sorry, a villain. And also you'll be the hero in the story of someone who sees you and wants to live that way.
I love that. And do you know what I'm writing down right now? Rescue your own rest. Yes, yes, and 1000% yes. Like if we need to save something, like save your sanity, take
Yeah.
a nap, um, make sure you get your sleep. Like that's, you know, like I remember 5 or 6 years ago, and I know it still happens. It's just not the same circle that I'm running in, but that it was a badge of honor to have only gotten a couple of hours of sleep. And, I'll be a little bit at a time. I mean, I don't get when I say get sucked in, it's not like I think that I don't have choice. Like I'm just getting like really sucked in, but because it's a pattern, a lifelong pattern that has been rewarded. So this isn't just like this isn't a pattern that I keep getting smacked around for. Like hustle has rewarded me. I've made good money. I have built great businesses. Like I have succeeded in being in the hustle culture. It just doesn't work for me anymore.
Same.
And so, yeah, right. So it's like not just it's not the hustle that pulls you in. It's the perceived benefits and the actual benefits that we've gotten from it. It's that dopamine hit that we've gotten when we got that huge paycheck, when we hit whatever that metric was, when we got recognized, on the national or national scene. Like that's significant emotional events, which is another thing that I talk about a lot in my program. Like those are significant emotional events that program us about what to do and what not to do so that we can stay in the pack. And in our case, lead the pack because that's what we've been trained to do. And where our personalities even lie is to lead the pack.
Right.
So
This is such a timely conversation because I don't want to bring up hard things, but the reality is we're facing a recession. A lot of people lost a lot of money last year. I know most of the entrepreneurs that I know, just even outside of my circle, made much less last year than they did the previous year and
I'm
don't know
included in
why.
that. I'm included in that. Yeah.
Right. And so am I, right? I made a huge shift last year too. But there, I can already see it. I can already see, business coaches peddling oh, well, let's get you back in your hustle and, step-by-step processes and all of the things that seasoned business owners know do not work. And so, like I said, this is a really timely conversation because now I want to move into talking about what to do instead of those things, instead of hiring the person with the 10K month spanner or your face says it all.
I know exactly what you mean. And I've got a couple things to say. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant. Is that okay?
Bring it. People need to hear these things.
Okay. So we see that. And like it honestly it it incites some anger in me because it is programs like that that don't deliver that what they are delivering is a cookie cutter program that does not work for 90% of the people. I have no doubt that it worked for someone and that it does work for certain people. But a lot of people doing that, like, feel out of integrity with the language that they are asked to be using in the sales calls, and these other things. So, like, it creates this dissonance, and it's people like that that are giving legitimate coaches, life coaches, business coaches, all the things, a bad name. It
No question.
tarnishes the title of coach, which I don't even use anymore.
Neither.
There's too much baggage with it.
Hmm. It's true.
Or, people who've never built a business that are selling business coaching, and they've never built a
That.
business, but they've got a nice, neat little package that's tied with a bow that tells them the step by step of how to do it. But, I look at that. If you don't have the experience, it's like planning a vacation and doing a vacation, like, to
Mhm.
make a really nice analogy, meaning, like, vacation seems like a lot more fun than some of the other things, right? But, like, you can plan your vacation step by step. But how often does it actually go that way? You miss a flight, you don't understand the language, the restaurant is, like, so you have all these things, and you don't even know, if you haven't done it, how to even pivot that. What are the other options that are available? How do you manage this? So anyways, yeah. Um, what do you do instead? Was that what your question was?
Yeah.
You've got to find what works for you. I mean, in my world, we call it uncovering your essence, like knowing who you are, which I'd love to share another story about that in just a second, but knowing who you are, understanding what your values are so that you can have your soul business that supports your essence, your values, and in reciprocation, your essence and values supports this business. It's your essence brand. So it's how you move through the world. So this year, 2022, rough year for me, really, just in so many aspects, personally, in relationships, business wise. And I am so grateful that I've done my own work, and I know who I am. Like, I have peeled back a lot of layers around my essence. There's always more. Like, there's always more of this work to do, but I know who I am, and it's really good because in June I turned 50. And like, I have always had the coolest hair. So I'm going to talk about my such a big deal. But I think that we can all, like, use the hair as an analogy. Like, what is your hair story?
Oh gosh.
I
Yes.
love my hair. In fact, I built a brand, not around my hair, but my hair was a part of the brand because it absolutely embodied my essence for so long, for so long. And then in June, my intuition was like, grow your hair out. I was like, wait, what? Like, I like my hair. I don't need to grow my hair out. And it just kept niggling me, grow your. I got an astrology reading about my hair. This was how distressful it was for me to think about changing up my hair because I liked my hair. And the astrologer was like, he actually thought it was quite humorous, but he's a former
Lucky
stylist.
him.
He's a former stylist, so he was like, I get the hair, so let's really look at this. And he was like, yeah, this is part of your soul evolution, is this hair thing. So I'm growing out my hair, and I let it all go gray. Like, I'm just naturally gray now. I let it all go gray. And so many times, like, I'm looking at myself in this Zoom call. I mean, it's fine, but I miss my cool platinum and blue hair. I miss it. I'll still walk by a mirror or a window and I'm like, who's that old lady? And trust me, like, that's a compliment. Like, being old, 100% compliment. Thank you for the wisdom. But it's just been this funny thing. And so many times I'm just like, I am so glad I know who I am. So even though the embodiment of what's on the inside is changing, I've also stopped wearing as much black. Like, black has been my signature color, black and blue, signature colors. I'm wearing a lot more color. Like I love this yellow jade I got going on today. I'm just a pop of color. That's another thing that is changing. And I'm so glad I know my essence so that even as the embodiment is changing, I feel okay. I mean, is that making some sense, Mina, what I'm talking about
It
here?
makes so much sense. And because I know some of the work that you've started doing, like the Dark Moon Goddess retreat,
Oh yeah.
that's what you look like.
Thank you.
No, really, like you're still so on brand for what you're doing. And I'm not sure that you're even paying attention to it, but that is the answer right there. The only step-by-step process that business owners need to learn, especially when they're just starting out, is self-identification and application, right? And I'm not talking about here's the application for your automations, right? Do the automations. You just had your first 10K month, time to hire. Hiring because you accidentally hit a 10K month will ruin your life.
Oh yeah.
It will ruin your life. But being able to go back through the process and how you managed to make it to your first 10K month is the skill set that you need to do that all the time and to make it less painful all the time. If you are hustling, you're not problem solving and you're not winning. If you're hiring people to fill in the gaps of your ignorance instead of to do specific tasks that you know very, very well, you're not winning. You're going to be really, really angry about the money you just wasted.
You're listening to the 2K Days podcast for rebel business leaders who want to generate more revenue and radical change. If you're loving what you're hearing, be sure to like this episode and subscribe for more.
Oh, Mina, that was absolutely so beautifully stated. And if you're hustling, there's no time for that reflection. There's no time to go back and look and see and understand. And that's one thing that I made the mistake of doing and that I see other entrepreneurs doing. And you're right. That's like hiring it out, but you're not even 100% sure. Like social media matters. Like that's one of the first things I see people do, or personal assistants. But I'm not even sure what I'm doing every day because I haven't gone back and reflected. I'm not really sure what I want to do on my social media. And so I'm just going to like trust somebody to throw stuff out there. If you don't know what you want and how you want it done, then you're just going to get more cookie cutter stuff and it's not going to feel in integrity and it's going to be exhausting because when you're not in integrity, it's exhausting. It
Exactly.
literally is like draining the battery of your soul.
Exactly. And now there is an antidote to this. It's one that we are not taught. We are taught individualism. We're taught if something is valuable to you, you pay for it. It is one more area where we completely erase the value of community and community wisdom.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. And yes. And so I'd love to address that just a little bit in regards to what we were talking about with embodying your essence brand. That seems like this super individualistic thing. And that's because we do need to do the inner work, right? Like it's, you cannot contribute as much to the collective if you haven't done your inner work. You then become like the energy vampire that, because you don't have anything to actually contribute. But when you know who you are, when you are empowered, just like we went back to before, when you are empowered, then you can empower the collective, the community. And that's when we can really bring equity and access and justice and all these things that we're so passionate about bringing. But you've got to do the inner work first. Otherwise, your efforts feel like the hustle.
Oh, yeah. The inner work is the difference between finding a place in society and existing comfortably as part of society, as part of a community.
I like that.
Is a big difference. And now, when you're in an honored community, a community that honors who you are and what they're doing and everything else, let me go back. There's only one reason for people to feel like they need to charge for something that they have off the top of their head. right? Like anytime I get on a call with somebody, it is my personal goal that that person leaves with something that they needed, whether it is, they've been struggling with their marketing strategy for a while. I can align a marketing strategy in my sleep. I can align a business strategy in seconds. I give those away. I created the project to have a place where I can be as generous as possible. The only reason for someone to have to charge for something that comes that quickly and easily for them is if that's all there is.
Well, Mina, can I just thank you? I feel like you were guided to this. Like we've talked around this a lot, but this is something that I've been very, very seriously considering over the last 2 weeks, and actually was in two very interesting discussions today about this, because I'm really wondering and considering experimenting with different types of freebies, because I'm the same way as you. Like, every person who leaves me, I want them to feel great about themselves. I want them to walk away and have additional self-value, because then they're going to add value to the collective, right? They're going to go and they're going to treat everybody better. And so this entire idea. So I thank you for saying that. And I want to just repeat what I heard you say. And that is, if you're charging for every little thing that you're giving, it's because that's all you have. I just want to explain what I'm feeling right now. Like, right now, what I'm feeling is a lot of gratitude for that. And and just, yes, I've had the opportunity to do quite a few readings for a particular group of people recently, that all really came from one individual person who I gave a lot to, which was a good learning experience for me also, about time, just about where my time boundaries are. And it's everything has come back to me 100 times, which I'm super, super grateful for. And what they got in those paid readings was for them 1,000 times more valuable than what I was just, tossing out here and there, because because it was easy, because here we are, we're friends. I wanted to have this nugget that you can go home and interact with your family or your employees better. Um, and that helped me solidify that I really do want to make my freebies free. No email exchange. No, like here, just take this. This is gonna help you. And
Mhm.
and if you come back and work with me, you're gonna get 1,000 times more value. And if you don't, that's okay too, because I feel like I was able to give of myself to you in a way that was self-honoring and honoring to you. And that's what I love, is this circular, it's reciprocal. That's not exchange, it's just reciprocation. Giving
Exactly.
the flow of the give and receives.
Exactly. And now I can already hear, because these are our paychecks we're talking about, right? Like, I pay my mortgage with this. I'm paying medical bills with this. And I know that there are people who are hearing these things going, okay, well, that's real nice if you have that kind of privilege. And let me tell you, we don't. We live off of the work that we do.
Yeah.
I just know that the depth of my knowledge and the depth of my ability is so much greater than what I can do in seconds. That's really just a preview of what I can do. And when someone comes back to me months later, it was actually really very sad. Earlier this week, I had someone come back to me months later who has hired 2 other coaches because she believed that they were older than me and therefore they must know better than me. Um, and now is very, very keenly aware of the difference between, someone who learned something and someone who has deconstructed and now plays at will with all of the pieces of something.
Oh, I love that.
And I have no problem with people coming back. Like, sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years, but they do not forget, especially in comparison to what they get in other places. They do not forget what they get from me.
Same, Mina, same. Thank you for putting words to what's been floating around in my mind. And when you were saying that, the other benefit that I get personally, like this is completely individualistic, but you know what? When I go to sleep at night, I know, I know that people's lives were changed because they interacted with me. And my life has changed because I was able to be in that relationship, even if it didn't translate in that moment into a dollar.
Yes, absolutely. And that, I mean, there's value in that, right? Mindset coaches are asking us to pay them. Here is a chance to start doing that work so that when you hire a mindset coach, you've already done a lot of the early stuff, right? You'll get your money's worth if you start making these little shifts. Now, I want entrepreneurs to hear this. I want small business owners to hear this so that they can adjust their own behavior. But what I'm most worried about, because of the desperation of, last year and facing another economic crisis, I want them to know and to hear that people who truly care about you won't charge you for absolutely every little thing. If somebody can't, answer your question right away, if someone frankly is charging for a sales call or, whatever else, chances are they're desperate too. And it's really hard to think when you're desperate,
Yep,
you know?
100%. When you were saying that, I was thinking just about some of the energy ups and downs that I've had because, I did make less money. Like, I'm the breadwinner for my family. And
Hmm.
like I have not been financially where I'm just being super vulnerable here. Where I am right now, I haven't been here for over a decade. And it's been a very interesting essence revealed for me too, to realize some of my attachments that I didn't realize that I had. Um, to um just be more cognizant when I am talking to people of my motives. Um, I'm very pleased with myself that I have not felt like a desperation to make a dollar when I'm talking to
Hmm.
people. I never want people to experience me as being salesy. Um, at all. You know me, I'm all about choice. Like, hey, if this works for you, fabulous, take it. And if it doesn't, let me help you find somebody who might work, who might work for you. Like if this, that I've been able to recognize that in myself. So there have been some harder pills to swallow through this, like some of my attachments to identity as somebody who had money. The level of my privilege has been shown to me in some ways. Some of those layers hurt a little more than others to peel back. And it's also made me resourceful
Hmm.
to be more discerning, to really go through my values filter before I go to my priorities filter and be discerning. And you're right, when somebody's feeling that constriction, it constricts everything, including your mind and your heart. And that's not the way that I want to ever interact with people. So you're right. Entrepreneurs, just really feel into, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like if you don't make this sale, like things are just going to fall apart? Like, been there, done that. I have felt that way. Um, yeah.
And think of the person on the other side of the call, right? There is going to be a lot of, if things are hard, follow this step-by-step process. Hey, turn your knowledge into a coaching business. If you don't have the pull to coach, you shouldn't, please just don't, you
Right.
know? If you have entrepreneurship in your blood, if you have it in you, if you've got the draw, then the product is in there too. You're
Oh,
not.
yes. That's what you really specialize in. And I help get people ready for that. Like, let's figure out who you are. And it is in you. Another thing that I'm seeing, and I know that like all of us that are still in the entrepreneurial space, like I think about like cream coming to the top of the milk, right? Like entrepreneurship is not for everybody. And that's not a good or a bad thing. It's just, it's not for everybody. And so everybody who wanted to hop on that sexy entrepreneurship, let's make 10K a month in our first month. And, you know, like, there's a lot of people that are like, ooh, this isn't actually for me. I'm going to leave this space. And then I'm hoping that what gets left is the cream, right? Like that the people that really that they have the heart of the entrepreneur.
Mhm. And those are the people that you want to listen to. Those are the people that you want to be in community with, because those are the people, they have their product. They don't have to charge you for, absolutely anything that comes up in a conversation because it's an opportunity.
Yep.
And that's how you build your business. If you have spots if you have knowledge gaps, if you have awareness gaps, if you do not know what you need, community is the answer to that. That's not the time to go hire a coach. You want to have your goals set. You want to know what you want. You want to know where you've been. And it is community, people who are emotionally invested in your success, who can help you find those things.
And that's what I love about the 2K Days project is uh, it's a high level community where people it's like the conversations that we're having right now. It's like truly when I say, how can I cheer and support you on, Mina? Like I mean that. I don't expect anything for myself it's because I just have faith in this reciprocal relationship. And when you win, I win. And when I win, you win. When we all win, like that's the kind of world I want to live in, a world
Oh, yeah.
full of true winners, not trophy, like sympathy trophy winners, like real winners. And the thing is everybody is a winner. You just it's a matter of finding like what does that look like for you? There's
Right.
there's enough winning in the universe. The universal pie of winning is big enough for everybody.
It's true. It is so true. And the people in your corner should really have that same mentality, and not just should. This is not a luxury. People having your back is not a luxury, right? We're bootstrappers. We're bootstrappers because we come from, not privileged economic backgrounds. And those are the people that I'm talking to. If you're listening to this and you're a bootstrapper, this is specifically for you. This is for people who don't have the privilege of being able to tap into mom and dad's network. But that's what the people who have that privilege do. They tap into mom and dad's network. And those people don't charge them for their time. They will sit down and have a 30-minute coffee and give you whatever comes to the top of their head because it feels good.
Yeah. It feels great to share your knowledge. One of the things that you said was about honor. And I just want to touch on the dark moon goddess and, kind of this direction that I'm going. It's the same. It's embodying your essence brand. This particular segment of this dark moon goddess, when we talk about honor, older women are oftentimes the least honored people in our society. And I think that that's part of this change, like why I was inspired to like grow my hair out and let it go gray is so that I could uncover those little bits of me that were afraid of looking old, of getting old, and instead realize that what I already knew here and really internalize it here. And that is that getting older is an honor. And I really want women specifically, that's my target audience, but women specifically to love their older selves, to love that dark moon goddess. And the dark moon is it's from the full moon, right? It's based on the triple goddess symbol. Like we're a maiden to a mother. That's a quick change. Like that's an old, like that happens and you know it.
Yeah.
Transition into the crone or the older woman, when you're out of that motherhood stage, like we're going to be mothers. Once you are a mother, like you're a mother, whether it's a child of the mind or a child of your body or other people's children, like if that's in your calling to be a mother in this lifetime, you're always that. But when do you transition into this chronic? It's this much more slow and undefinable process. And imagine a world where older women were empowered, were able to empower, still felt sexy, um, and still felt like they were contributing to society. You don't have to be giving birth or actively raising children to be a woman who's contributing to society. In fact, the wisdom that we gain through all of that, the softness that we gather after, being in that space of mothering children, children of the mind, whatever, like that's some valuable stuff.
And I just have to say, as somebody who has gone through the process of becoming a mother alone, I would have given anything. I'm still kind of like, what do I do? But anything to have that presence of somebody who has been through this process. When I first started, we have so much postpartum suffering. And it
Yeah.
is really, in so many ways, because the disempowerment of older women has separated us throughout our timeline.
Yes. And because we have to be strong all the time, because we've been sucked into the hustle culture of motherhood too, right? And you have to
Mhm.
be strong. Um, there's a lot. I have a little book that I keep called The Best Kept Secrets of Getting Married and Becoming a Mother. And I taught, and I'm sharing it with my kids as they're like, I've had a couple of them get into relationships, get married. I have no grandkids yet, but I'm sharing it with them. And like, here's the best kept secrets. Nobody talks about this because people think it's weak. And so we just bottle it up and we have to be strong. No, it's time to just stop that.
In family and in business.
100%.
So my first of all, I'm so grateful for you. This has been such an awesome conversation. Uh Totally off the cuff, which is exactly what I wanted. But just so meaningful, so valuable. And so the one thing that I want for everyone hearing this is to take this, to really internalize it, to find a community of capable entrepreneurs who are more than happy to share what they know off the top of their head. Like, it doesn't take long to type a response. Nobody's going to give you 5 hours of their life, and their expertise. But coming up with stuff off the top of their head, that shouldn't be a thing. So I want you to promise me that you're not going to get ripped off in this economic downturn. You're going to reach out and build a community and a network to figure out what you really need before you hire that coach. Coaches are amazing. They will definitely take you to the next level. Don't let the next level be something you could have done yourself.
That is brilliant advice, Mita, from somebody who's been around the block a time or two. Both of us have. And I want to thank you for being such an important and impactful part of my network. It was 3 years ago almost that we met. And I'm so, so grateful for you.
It is almost 3 years. Okay, so everybody listening, you can come and hang out with us inside the 2KDays Project. That's 2kdaysproject.com. Christina is at embodyyouressencebrand.com. And all of the links to all of her work will be available on the show notes for this episode. If you want to become someone who doesn't need a step-by-step process for everything, Christina is your person. And now this is the person that I send people to when they're not ready for me and my strategy work. If we don't know who you are, we can't build a system that looks like you. That just is what it is.
It is. Thank you so, so much, Mina. It's been wonderful to chat with you, as always.
As always, we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the 2K Days podcast. This episode was brought to you by the 2K Days Project, an international coalition of business leaders building a better world. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe. And for even more detailed strategies and tools, you're invited to join our email newsletter at www.2kdaysproject.com. See you next week.